Hi, everyone. I have some questions that I'd like to ask you. What unique abilities or talents do you possess that would make you an invaluable addition to your story? And how would you use your superpower to enhance the plot and captivate readers or viewers? Can you describe a specific situation or challenge where your superpower would play a crucial role in advancing the story and its characters? Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Facebook Live. I'm so excited to have a guest speaker today, and her name is Terry Lee Harrison. And she is talking about a topic that I'm really passionate about. Story is your superpower. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Deborah Northcutt, your speaker support concierge. Welcome to the Sensational Speakers Lounge show. I go live every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Our topic for today is Story is Your Superpower. My guest, as I said, is Terry Lee Harrison. Now, last week I did a live and it was called Lights, Camera, Impact or something like that. And I talked about being visible. And I touched a little bit on storytelling, but Terry Lee is going to go into more detail about that today. Now, Terry Lee is going to be talking about when you own and embrace your story, it doesn't have to be an anchor that weighs you down, and also why it's freeing to allow others to love you for who you really are. And when you share your story, you can give yourself the gift of allowing others to love you for who you really are. Now, for those of you who are out there in the audience, let me know where you're watching from. Put your city or your state in the comment box and let us know where you're watching from so we can do some networking. Now, if you don't want to put your city and state in the comment box, let us know where you're watching from. Are you watching us from Facebook? Are you watching us from LinkedIn? Or where are you watching us from? And I do see I have one person who joined us today. I don't see your name. So can you please put your name in the comment box and let us know where you're watching from? We'd love to know. And thank you for joining us today. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to put your name and where you're watching us from in the comment box. So let me see if you made a comment. We go to the comment box. Don't be shy. Put your name and your city in the comment box. Okay, well, that's okay. Now, make sure that you share this live with your friends and your families or any other speaker that might need to hear this message. And if you're watching the replay of this live, make sure to use the hashtag replay and leave your comments in the message box. And I'll make sure that I come back, circle around, and answer any question or comment that you might have. Now, for showing up today, I have a free gift for you, and it's a checklist of 24 support activities that I can do for you. So go to bit.ly /support activities to grab your free gift. That's bit.ly /support activities to grab your free gift. Now, before I bring up Terry Lee, let me read you her bio. Now, Terry Lee, I'm just going to have to be honest. You sent me a short bio of yourself. Now, I know there's a whole lot more to you than what you sent me. So I went out and found more information about you because you need to be celebrated. Now, Terry Lee Harrison, she is a speaker slash, she is a slash speaking coach who helps coaches, consultants, and solopreneurs launch and level up their speaking business so they can make a greater impact with their message. She also is an author with over 15 years experience working with thousands of business owners. She is passionate about helping coaches, consultants, and solopreneurs network in the most dynamic and lucrative way. She's an expert in business networking and relationship marketing. She is the owner of Team Referral Network. Now, let me bring up Terry Lee. Hi, Terry Lee.
Deborah, thanks so much for having me
You
here
you are.
today. I'm delighted to be here and speak to your audience.
I am so happy that you're here, Terry Lee. But without further ado, and I hope you don't mind me adding on to your bio, but what you sent me, I'm like, oh, there's so much more to this.
No worries, no worries. It's all good. Thank you for that.
Okay, good. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to take myself out of the stream and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. All right. Are we seeing me? Wonderful. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you today and to be presenting what I feel is a very valuable topic. And it's that as Deborah said, it's your story is your superpower. Uh, Deborah, I gave you that glimpse. I have a couple more cool things, just a little bit about me. So you know that I'm that story speaker coach, an entrepreneur, a global speaker, and a multi-time author. I've served thousands of business owners globally in the business networking industry. That's what she was sharing. Some fun facts about me is I have my own Supergirl cape, and I'm not afraid to wear it. And I am living in Houston, Texas now. Our 1 year anniversary of being back in the States is next week. We lived the 5 years prior in Singapore. So we spent COVID over in Southeast Asia. So we're happy to be here living about 10 minutes from our granddaughters after living half a world away. So what Oh, sorry, I went the wrong way. Here we go. Well, I have 3 outcomes for us today, and Deborah shared some of them with you. I will share some key concepts with you to help you own and embrace your story. I will share some key ideas to help you increase your impact as you tell your story, and I'll invite you to stay in the conversation with me. I believe when it comes to our story that as business owners, that we have the ability, we can just have it in our LinkedIn headline and give a key phrase to share our story with others. We could go light like that and have it be impactful as people learn about us. But also, we have the ability to go and write the book and tell the story, and both can be very powerful. So I don't know where you are with your story today, but I don't know if you agree, but I believe that we all have a story, a cause, or a method to share with the world. It might be your story of how you have overcome and restart after a brutal divorce. It could be that you have a cause you're passionate about. Yesterday, I spoke with oh my gosh, it was so inspiring, a 79-year-old woman who is running a nonprofit to provide housing for veterans. And so she wants to speak about her cause. You might have a method to share with the world. Let's say Deborah's passionate about serving speakers, and so she wants to share some of her strategies around that. But maybe you agree with me that we all have something to share to make an impact in the world. So I would just love to reach out and ask you, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself in getting your message out to the world? So you could be a 1, where it's like, nope, I'm not doing it. You could be a 10 and like, hey, I'm live streaming like Deborah and Terry Lee. I podcast, I do some videos, I speak. You could be somewhere in between. But wherever you are, it's fine. And I want you to know wherever you are, I have been there. So today, you know that I believe that your story can be your superpower, but truly, everyone, that was not always the case. So what I have come to know in my life as I'm here with you today, I am 56 years old, and for over 30 years of my life, I didn't believe I was good enough, and I believed it wasn't okay to be me. And there's one thing that I've learned in those 56 years, and it's that what you believe about yourself on the inside is what you will manifest on the outside. So, it's not going to do it. That's interesting. Okay. Okay. So Okay, so the animation's not going to work on this. With your permission, I would love to tell you just a wee bit about my story, and it's what makes me. Thank you for the comments. I see that we have like a 6+, Corey May. That is awesome, and Shiv, thank you for your agreement there. So everyone has a story, and this is a bit about mine. And that's like the ending slide, if you will, since the tech isn't working. But in my life, in these 56 years, at age 12, I was in 6th grade, and age 12 is a very awkward time. Would you not agree? We're entering puberty. We are in between children and adolescents, or we're adolescents, and it was at that time that we were learning about the birds of the bees in school. And for me, I'm old enough that that was on a film strip. How many of you remember film strips? So it's been a while. And it was about that time that I learned that um, I wasn't made. I was that it was. I was led to believe that I wasn't made like other girls, and that while we were learning about how to start menstruating, I would soon learn that I needed to have surgery to be able to do that. And I was um, born with a underdeveloped reproductive tract. So in my case, let me spell it out in plain English for you. I was told at 12 that I was born without a lower vagina. Now, at 12, the way it was presented to me, they told my parents that it looked like I was a twin and the egg hadn't split, and that I looked like a museum inside. And so, with the information that I had at 12, I took on that I was different than all other girls. I want you to let that sink in for a minute. So at 12, I that's when I thought, I'm not good enough, and it's not okay to be me. I had amazing supportive parents who were concerned that people would make fun of me if they knew, and so I don't remember a meeting where they said it, but I know it was implied to me not to tell anyone, and I didn't. I did not. And so in my life, as I took that on and just stuffed that deep inside and held that secret tight, I didn't wake up every day. As you listeners can imagine, I didn't wake up every day and had my feet hit the ground and say, oh, I'm not good enough, and it's not okay to be me, and I'm different than all other girls. But you go through your life. You go on through your life. And so as my life played out, it played out in different ways. And one way it played out, like all throughout middle school, was I sought out perfectionism. And I didn't know at the time. I think I was trying to like cover up, so I got the best grades, was very active in church leadership in our youth group, tried to date the best boys, and so but perfectionism turned into in later years, so heading into like high school and college, that I felt unlovable. So I began looking for love in all the wrong places. And when you start looking for love in all the wrong places, you kind of get involved with the wrong people. And so I found myself, here I was with the perfectionism. I had a good education and I had good jobs, and I was able to do well in that front, but I was picking all the wrong men. And over the next 10 years or so, I would be involved with 3 men. None of them were good for me. One of them, I was the cheater. One of them, I was cheated on. And the other one, the last one there, I was the other woman. And it was just a miserable time for me, an absolutely miserable time for me. And when I say in the middle relationship that I was cheated on, I'm not talking your average cheat. I'm talking he was married to someone at the same time he was married to me. And it was a drama. Like, remember the movies of the week? My life would have been a movie of the week. And so I was getting by in my life, but pretty miserable. And so I would reach some level of success, and then I would self-sabotage. I don't know how many of you can relate. And so again, what I was believing about myself on the inside is what I was manifesting on the outside in different ways. And along that road, in those relationships with those men, I have a daughter that is today 29 and a son that is today 21. And I loved being their mom. So in the middle of this train wreck of a life, everybody, uh, there was a wake up call for me, and that is I did not give my mom enough cred there. There's not time for that, but I had like one of the most amazing moms in the world, and she passed away. And I was like, I mean, my life was a mess, and I was like, what are you doing? You know better than this. And so I began to go and seek help. So along the way, in seeking help, I had um, left church along the way. I had told God, in the middle of all that mess, I know what you want me to do, but I'm going to do what I want to do anyway. And that's never a good plan, never a good plan at all. And so I began to get my life right with God. I began to try to do things different in my life, and it was about that time that I met the man who's my husband today. We've been married 20 years now. And in the course of events, I began doing personal development, professional development, and getting the help I need. And the game changer for me, and what I want to ask you in your story is, do you have a game changer for you? Is that I was with a business coach and having coffee one day, and so I'm like 42 years old, 30 years later, right? And he says, "What do you want to work on today?" And I said, I I am unorganized. I said, you can walk in my house and it looks picked up and it looks clean. It's clean. I said, but if you look inside of any drawer, any closet, it's just it's a mess. And I said, we can't even park in my garage. And I said, I know my disorganization is causing me to lose business, because like I'll go networking and I'll lose business cards and stuff, right? And he looked at me, and we're sitting at a Starbucks and across the table, and he goes, tell me about your childhood. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, he thinks I was abused. I said, no, I had a great childhood. I said, but I was sick a lot. And I hadn't thought about any of these things I've shared with you for years and years. And I did something that we didn't have access to back in the film strip days. And I went to the internet and I typed in, I didn't know what to say. And I typed in absence of vagina. And man, I was completely shocked when a whole bunch of stuff came up. And one thing was that the truth is I have a condition that 1 in 5,000 women have, and for the most part, people don't talk about it. In that condition, we have underdeveloped reproductive tracts. We have kidney issues, which I had. I had scoliosis surgery following my female surgery. Went a couple years later, there's spinal issues, and I was just blown away by the fact that I wasn't alone. I thought I was the only one, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone, right? But there's something about not being the only one that is, that how you're made is so bad you can't tell anybody. And so if I have a block of baggage that I'm carrying around, it was like a bomb went off and released a lot of what I was carrying in my life. And then even more so over the next day or so, as I began doing more research and finding out about it, I began to realize that the people who have this condition, they find out not when they're 12 and ready to menstruate. They find out when they haven't menstruated at all, when they're like 15 and 16. And they go in and they find out that they don't even have enough uterus to be able to menstruate. And it's at that time, unfortunately, at a very young age, that they find out that they're unable to have children. And here I went from believing that I was junk all those years in an instant to realizing I'd been a miracle having my kids at the whole time, and I had no idea. Wow. So it does say that the truth will set you free. And I really, really believe that. So this picture you've been looking at as I shared my story, thanks for bearing with me, is me and my granddaughter a couple of years ago. When I said I have the Supergirl cape and I'm not afraid to wear it. And the woman I am today is not the same woman that raised my kids, especially my 29-year-old, right? She unfortunately got raised by a mom that was in the midst of manifesting all kinds of junk, right? But I'm grateful for the woman I am today, and I'm grateful that I get to be who I am today with my family and the people in my life. So thank you for letting me share a bit about my story. So there's a piece of my story that I think a lot of you will relate to. And the piece of what I was carrying was shame. And shame is when you feel bad about yourself on the you feel bad about who you are as a person. And it comes from a couple places. And number one is awkward and uncomfortable feelings about how you're made. And in my case, I just described my shame to you. And sometimes, we can look at people and not realize that there's anything that appears to be, quote unquote, wrong with them. But sometimes it's obvious. And sometimes we wouldn't know that you feel shame about something. It can be that you feel you're too short, you're too tall, you're too fat, you're too thin. It could be that you think your skin's too light or your skin's too dark. It can be that you have a scar somewhere prominent and you find it embarrassing. It can be that you are dyslexic and you don't want anyone to know you can't read, that you have issues with reading, right? It can be anything. And the thing about it is shame is personal. So I might say, I might tell you, oh, and I would never say that, believe me, after what I've been through, but oh, that's no big deal. But you know what? If it's a big deal to you, it's a big deal to you, and it's real. It is real. The other places shame comes from is it can come from the things that people have done to us. And I came to know when I went to write my book, I came to come out about my story about 10 years ago. And when I went to write my book, I realized that, oh my gosh, a third, I was sitting at that coffee shop going, oh, he thinks I was abused. But you know what? A third of the people walking the planet have been abused by somebody. And in my case, some of my worst relationships issues were with my ex, who was married to someone at the same time he was married to me, and that whole drama and all the things around it. And so for anyone who's experienced shame about the things that people have done to us, it is not okay what has happened to you, and it is really important for you, if you've not yet, to start a healing journey. We can carry this with us our whole lives. Many times we're told to keep things secret, right? The last place that shame comes from is it can come from the things that we have done. Now, I didn't really get into, for the sake of time, some of the things that I had done. I'm pretty open about it, but I talked about being the other woman, and that's one example. And we none of us are perfect, and I'm not proud of that. I would never do that now. But many of you are carrying shame about the mistakes you've made, the things you've done, and the fact is that we can release this shame to be the person that we're made to be. So I have to tell you that I decided. When I found out the truth about my situation, I thought, oh my gosh, this is so powerful. I wasn't junk. I was a miracle the whole time. And so the first time I shared my story, here I was active in business networking in the Los Angeles area. And I had the opportunity to share my story. And at the time in my work, I was doing public speaking 4 and 5 times a week. So I was out, I was speaking to groups of business people. But boy, the Saturday afternoon, I'll never forget, I went to go tell my story to a group of women from my church. Oh my word. I had the worst cotton mouth. I've never had it since. The worst cotton mouth I've ever had in my life. And I had this physical response as I began bringing that story up and out into the world and began sharing with them what I'd been through, who I really was, after hiding this information for so long and beginning to let go of my own shame in the process of becoming comfortable in my own skin. I don't know if you can relate to any of that. And so there's a couple things I want to share with you as we go into story. And it's that every time you tell your story, it is healing to you and it's healing to others. Every time you tell your story, it's healing to you and healing to others. I mean, it was major healing that day many years ago. But I tell you, every time to know that it is valuable to you, and I swear even more valuable to others, but very meaningful to you. It's powerful. It is powerful. So I ask you today, I know Deborah said she talked about storytelling last week. What's your story? And I want to ask you, are you holding back from sharing your story? And let's talk for a minute about what holds you back. So, what can hold you back is fear. And some of those fears might be a fear of being exposed. What would others think of me if they really knew, right? A fear of, I used to fear what would people want to do business with me if they really knew, what I'd been up to. Another fear that we can have is fear of revealing a sticky mess, I call it. And so some of you may know what I mean by a sticky mess. And it's that you have had an instance in your life that it's powerful. Your story is powerful, and what you have survived is powerful. What you've been through, how you've come out on the other side is powerful. But somebody did something to you, and it could be a family member, someone close to you, and you don't want to reveal the story and create even more of a sticky mess. So what I'd like to impart to you today is that there are ways to still tell your story and not reveal every detail. So today I gave you a glimpse of how you could do that, and that would be, there's a whole lot to say inside of when I use the sentence that I had been the cheater, I'd been cheated on, and I'd been the other woman, right? There's a whole lot inside of that, right? And there are ways to be able to share your story and give glimpses. People will get it. They're like, okay, I get that. And so the other thing you can do is, like, when I actually wrote my book and gave more details, I changed names of the people that were involved. There's really no way for people to trace back to those people. So the third way that we may feel fear is you might just feel that your story isn't good enough. My story is nothing. I have to tell you, there have been times I tell my story and get into more of the gruesome details, and I was speaking one day at a conference where the women had all been horridly involved, the other speakers, in domestic violence, where they'd been attempted to kill them, where they attempted to kill them and choke them and all these things. And I was like, whoa, my story is nothing like this. But it doesn't matter, right? I believe every story is important. Every story matters. Your story will empower someone. I promise. And so what I want you to know is, don't wait. Like, I'm going to share my story when it feels right, because it's never going to feel right to tell your story. You might feel called to tell your story, but the feeling, waiting for the feeling that it's the right time, that's not going to come. I'll tell you when you'll know it's right that you shared your story, and that is when someone comes up to you after you did and they say, oh my goodness, this is how your story helped me, and thank you so much for sharing it. Or thank you, I could never do what you just did, and it means so much to me. That's when you'll know that it was the right thing to do. So I believe when I talk about your story is your superpower, your story doesn't have to be an anchor that weighs you down. You can see my story weighed me down for years, right? But when you own and embrace your story, um, it can set you free, and it can be that your story is your superpower. So I want you to know that your story matters. We live into our story. I want you to start listening to your story. What are the things you're saying? Is it well, your story can be everything, but listen to the stories you're saying. Like, um, I'm having trouble growing my business. Well, what happens when you say that? You're going to have trouble growing your business, right? I just can't lose weight. Are you going to be able to lose weight? Most likely not, right? Start listening to the stories you're saying. And what I'm here to tell you wholeheartedly is that you can change your story. I'm proof of it. And when you change your story, you're going to change the results you're getting in my life, or in your life. I guess I changed the results I was getting in my life, for sure. I sit here today after all I'd been through, feeling unlovable. And today, my husband and I have been married 20 years. This is like the relationship I always dreamed of. Is it perfect? Nothing's perfect, but you know what? It is amazing. and I'm grateful. This is the relationship I always wished I had. And so I want to encourage you to share your story. And I don't know what that looks like for you. If you're someone who has you're hearing me and you're like, yeah, I got a story, and you've never done any work, and by work I mean um, counseling, coaching, seeking out maybe a minister or someone that you trust, and begin processing through the things that have happened to you. I have to tell you, from time to time, something will come up, and I'll be like, that again, you know. But you can begin your healing journey, and I think our healing journey can be something that we're on for our lifetime. Yeah. Some people have addictions that involve like drug and alcohol, but yet, you know, when you're addicted to lack of self worth, lack of self love, right? You still have to work through those things, right? And I want to encourage you. Maybe you have never shared your story. And if that's the case, I'm not here to ask you to go get on the big stage today. I'm asking you, how would it feel if you were able just to share that story with one person? You'd be so surprised how many times I share my story and people come up to me and tell me about the things they've been through that they've never told anyone else. I mean, this is part of the human condition. So, could you find one person that you trust? I promise you that, you know, when we let things, when we stuff them deep down inside, they eventually ooze out in places. Mine ooze out like in my personal life and my personal relationships, right? But when we will take what we stuff down inside and bring it out into the light, it's never as bad as what you think. Now, on the flip side, you may feel called to speak and write your story and share it with the world. And I encourage you to do so, right? To take it one step at a time. And my biggest lesson here is that one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is to allow others to love you for who you really are. And I'm going to repeat that one again. That is like my big lesson. And it's that one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is to allow others to love you for who you really are. I really never give people a chance. I didn't give them a chance. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. But today I am. Today I am. And it's amazing. And I hope that, that you all are at that place or can be on the journey to that place. It's an amazing place to be. So let's talk about, for those, I know Deborah works with speakers, right? So I hope there's some speakers here. And so I want to quickly just do a little bit of sharing about how to share your story more. So let's talk about how could you increase your impact. So today there are, and I invite you to share in the chat if you're here. Um, are you interested in speaking in person? Speaking online, COVID gave us that gift. We're doing tons of online speaking. Look at where we are today. Or maybe you're interested in both. So I should invite you to share in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And then I want you to think about, because it's easy to play smaller than we're able to. And so I want you to think about, how many speaking gigs would you like to do monthly? And if you want, please put that in the chat. And a lot of times people will say, hey, I'd love to do one speech a week. And so I'd love to invite you to redefine what is a speaking gig. So I have some pictures here, and I don't think it's going to do it. Well, maybe. Okay, let's see. So this, I would say, thank you, Corey May. See, all of the above. Awesome. So I think this is a speaking gig, and I want to tell you about this speaking gig. So in our time living in Southeast Asia, because of that, I've been able to visit India 5 times now. And I talk a lot and teach about the business of speaking. But this is one of those speaking gigs that is precious and that there's no money involved. I was speaking to women at a church in India. We've spoken there several Easters now, like 3 out of the past 4 Easters maybe. or maybe that's screwed up because of COVID. But anyway, this is a speaking gig, okay? And I don't think the slides are going to work, but I guide you through pictures of, when you speak in a workshop with like 30 people, is that a speaking gig in person? Yes, right? We look at thank you, Corey May, at least once a week. That is excellent. And then if you have a chance to speak online like this, is this a speaking gig? Yes, right? If you speak at a summit, and like if imagine we all have a Zoom and it's full of people, is that a speaking gig? Yes. But can it also be the online summits? Can it be, how about, do you think that doing a speaking gig could be if you do videos? How about this? I think this is totally a speaking gig. How about podcasting? How about if you do reels, little 1-minute videos? How about if you do online workshops? Like I'm getting ready to promote an online workshop I'm doing in another 10 days. And like that, to me, that's a speaking gig. And I want you to ask yourself, could these things be speaking gigs for you? So when you think about it, could you go from one speaking gig a week as a goal to what if you began doing a live once a week? So that's 4. So yeah, 4 speaking engagements, call them, and then 1 live a week. So 4 more lives. So that's 8 things a month. And what if you are teaching and doing a couple workshops? So that's 10 a month. What if you do a reel a day, Monday through Friday? So that would be 5 times 4 is 20. That gets you up to like 30 speaking gigs, if you will, a month. Do you see how you can increase your impact and get your message out? It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. I believe we can make a huge impact right from our phone, right from our laptop, right from our home or our office. It's amazing. And as you travel the world, you can be making an impact. So I want you to also think about, could creating your own events help you reach your speaking goals? And so I want to share with you. So in my time meeting Deborah and networking with Deborah, she may have known there was a season when I did what I called the weekly online workshop. And so I showed up every week. And at the time, my topic was business networking and the things around networking. And every week I was there offering it live, offering people the replay. And what did that do for me? A couple things. Number one, it puts out the energy of this is, wow, look at Terry Lee, she's doing this. And it drew people to me. People would visit, I would meet new people. It allowed me to have a call to action to invite people into my networking at the time. And it allowed me to create content. I didn't pressure myself to have hour-long workshops. The one I'm going to do in 10 days is going to be an hour, but like these weekly online workshops, if they were 25 minutes, awesome. If they were 30 minutes, awesome. But it helped me create content. And the content that I created, I went for 9 months with new content, new fresh content weekly for 9 months, right? 36 pieces of content, if you will. It ended up becoming the foundation, if you will, for a book I released in 2022. Could creating and hosting your own events help you reach your speaking goals and more? So with your new definition, I want you to think about how many speaking gigs would you like to do monthly now? And if you'd like to share, I'd love to see it. I bet that your number increases. I bet your number increases, right? Because what are we going to do? We're going to take our message out to the world, our story, our cause, or our method. And so what holds you back from speaking more? So we talked about what holds you back from sharing your story. What holds you back from speaking more? I want to share real quick. I knew I wanted to do reels. If you go look for me now on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, you see I've been doing some reels. Are they the best reels in the world? I'm not going to say that. I'm on my reels journey, okay? But I decided I'd rather show up imperfectly and take action. And so, but there was, oh my gosh, I was so stuck. Someone advised when I was thinking about doing them, go watch everybody else's. And so, oh my gosh, that's a rabbit hole. I watched hours of other people's, and that really didn't move me forward. And one day I had the nerve and I recorded some, and I I sent it to my virtual assistant, and she's been with me. She's be 3 years now, and a few months back, and she said, I said, "Can I use this?" And she goes, "No, you can't." And in 3 years, I'd never sent her anything that she said we couldn't use. Like my reels were really bad. Okay, so I was like, "Oof!" But I felt like I broke through and decided to try again. And so part of it is I swear that sometimes it feels like before you do something that it feels like something weighs 100 pounds, but once you do it, you realize it really just weighs a pound or two, right? It was never as heavy as it felt. And so if I can do reels, I encourage you to do reels. Corey May has a comment. Oh, well, that's wonderful. She does a nightly broadcast on Facebook Live, and she hit 1,500 consecutive nights. Congratulations. I acknowledge you for that. And then, yes, I want to inspire you and others to branch out into other media. That sounds awesome. So, the truth about speaking, your story or not, your story, your cause, your method is you've got to take action. You've got to take action. So, I want you to think about, as I'm beginning to close out here, who could you contact to book speaking gigs and plan on doing it every day? Like, I'm going to reach out at least once a day to book a speaking gig. Who could you make a list and begin contacting people immediately? And then I want you to think about the overall picture. So, gosh, this is a little small, this writing, but let's take a look. So, I want you to think about your audience, your tribe, the people that you are going to attract, and how will you do that? So, speaking, it can take a lot of forms of how you're what and how do you want to show up in the world. So could it be that you have a book? Could it be that you do a podcast or a live stream? Could it be that you do online workshops? And it doesn't have to be every week like I talked about. I'm doing like one a month right now, right? Could it be that you have a Facebook group for people? Could it be going right around that clock, right? The YouTube channel. Could it be these multiple things? Could it be that you offer programs like coaching, a mastermind? Maybe you help people in the speaking to write books on your topic or do collaborative books, and maybe you hold events, right? What could it be for you? I want you to this is quite broad and it's a lot of things. It could be that your platform, your speaking platform is like three things. And if you've not started any of this, I encourage you just to look at what would be like the top three things that you would like to be launching and working on now, and then just tick them off one at a time. So I have a gift for you, and Deborah's going to be sharing it in the chat. And it is I have an ebook, How to Launch or Level Up Your Speaking Business, and I'd love to share it with you. And as we close out today, this is like my Linktree link at terryleeharrison.com. If there's anything I want you to take away today, it's regarding your story and regarding you and your extraordinariness as a human being. It's to just remember that you are good enough, that you matter, and you are loved.
Terry Lee, that was wonderful. I'm going to take your slides down.
Oh, okay.
I got so many nuggets from what you said, and I could relate to a lot of things you were saying. As I,
Yes, right? We
yeah,
can. We can.
yeah. And first, I want to thank you, Corey. I didn't get a chance to come on and welcome you. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you got a lot from this. And make sure that you download Terry Lee's free ebook. I put the link in there, so make sure that you download it. But one thing, Terry, no, one, I wrote down a bunch of things,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
but I'm just gonna say this. You said you were talking about self-esteem, and I'm like, it's something when we have such low
Mm,
self-esteem, we let people treat us any old kind of way, and we put up with it.
yep.
Who hasn't done that? I've done it. And I could relate to so much you were saying. I'm like, oh my gosh, my self esteem at that time was in the toilet, and I should have never let people treat me the way that I let them treat me and get away with it. I
Yep.
would never do that. I would never do that again because my self-esteem is not that low anymore. And
Amen. Good.
oh yeah, and I've
Hmm.
been in situations and I'm like, she said she was cheated on, she was a cheater, and then she was married to this man who was married to someone else. Oh my gosh, I'm like, that had to be devastating. Now I can relate. I can relate to the cheater and the cheated on,
Yes.
myself. But oh
Yes.
my gosh, being married to someone and I look at this on TV on certain TV shows, and I'm like, how does that happen? And how devastating can it be for the woman to find out that her husband has another family or
And
another?
that you freaking fell for it, okay? Because
Yes,
you had your own stuff. He had
oh,
his stuff, I had my stuff,
yes,
clearly, right? And
yes, yes.
it's amazing, and it's shocking how much it happens, but people don't talk about it.
Exactly. They keep it to themselves because they're embarrassed.
Yep.
You're so embarrassed you don't want anyone to find out about it. And speaking of that, you said every time you tell your story, it's healing to you and healing to others. And that is so true. Now, in my household, and when you were talking about how your parents said, don't tell anybody,
Yeah.
about your ailment that you had, in
Mhm.
my household, it was always what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Mm.
And that's the same thing you were saying. And it's
Mhm.
devastating to you. No, it's so devastating that you have to keep a secret like that and not tell anybody. It really does. It wreaks havoc on you. It comes out in different ways. Like you said,
Yep.
you could it can come out as you drinking a lot
Yes.
or like
Oh, yes. Oh,
partying a lot
yes.
or being loose, and you
Yep.
know what I mean by
I
being
do. I do.
yeah.
I do. And I kind of had my more unfortunately it was like more my adult version. I didn't rebel as a teenager. My
Mhm.
life imploded when I was 24. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, thank you so much, Terry Lee. This has been so wonderful, so
Mhm.
eye-opening. I would have never known
Well,
any of
you
this.
don't know. And do you know what I think is interesting, Deborah, and for all of us is,
Mhm.
if I go on a podcast and we think we're going to talk about networking or speaking, if people will take me down the right set of questions, I'll
Mhm.
go here with them. Okay.
Okay.
But if not, we can stay so superficial, and we can do that our whole life.
Sure
We can
can.
do that our whole life. But
Sure can.
but now I want to empower others that your story matters, and your story can help people, and at a minimum helping to heal yourself. And because when we're healed, the people around us get to benefit from that. Like Deborah, it was very dangerous 20 years ago for my husband to marry me, in that because I hadn't really started my healing journey yet. It was, yeah, I hadn't, and so thank God I did, and that we are where we are today. And I would like to speak to our business owner friends that are watching this, our speaker friends, our business owner friends.
Mhm.
Running a business is not for wussies. And there's all the mind games and the mindset things that we play on ourselves anyway. But
Yeah.
if you're struggling with your self-esteem and that kind of thing, I mean, it is going to be what you manifest, about what you believe about yourself on the inside is what you're going to manifest on the outside. So doing your work is very important, because running a business is challenging enough. Yeah.
Yeah, very challenging, very challenging. You're so right. You have to do the work. And there's so many people who don't want to go get counseling. They don't want to talk to a therapist, that they think, why am I going to do that? That's not going to help me. But seriously, I've done it and it helps tremendously. It may not in the beginning, you might not see any results. Well, why am I doing this? Why am I coming here? But if you keep going, you will get the benefits, of talking to a professional counselor, therapist, whomever, because you need that help. You really are, in order to change, you need that help. So
Hmm.
yeah, like I said, your story is amazing.
Thank
You're
you.
amazing.
Thank you. You know what? I believe that everybody's story is amazing. If we will just share, and it truly
Mhm.
is beautiful to be more comfortable in your own skin. I'm telling you.
It is. It definitely is. Well, on that note, I want to thank you so much, Terry Lee, for being my guest today. And I'm going to close the show for today. So thank you everyone for joining the live. And if you can, if you didn't see the live, then make sure that you go back and watch the replay. So on that note, I'm going to say have a good night or have a good evening. And I'll talk with you soon, Terry Lee.
Thank you. Thank you,
You're welcome.
everybody.
Thank you.